Doug, thank you for joining us. Tell the audience who you are and what you do.
Great to be here. Thankful to be here today. My name is Doug Lindsay. I'm the Chief Development Officer at the University of Health and Performance, and my role and responsibility there is really in staff and culture development across our enterprise and our organization.
Awesome. And so you've had a long military career, 22 years, I believe. You want to walk us through that, kind of starting at day one, which was the Air Force Academy, and going on from there?
Yeah, absolutely. So 22 years, 7 months, and 4 days, according to my DD 214. So and most of them were great days. I never joined thinking I was going to be a lifer. That was not the intent. The intent was an opportunity. Actually, it started a little bit before the Air Force Academy because I applied to the Air Force Academy and was denied my first year. I got a great letter from them that said, basically, almost. You didn't make it, but try again next year. And so I was part of a preparatory program. I went down to New Mexico Military Institute for a year on a scholarship from the Academy to do that, and then joined the Academy after that. And so
I got to ask, I cut you off for a second now, right?
Yeah.
Brother competition. So, Nick, audience, Doug has a twin brother, Dave, who also went. And so did he go straight in then, or did he get waitlisted? Or
Yep, he got waitlisted just like I did. So basically what they do is they take the top 100 people who didn't make it. So I think we had the year I applied, I think there were, 12,000 applications. They selected 1,500 to go to the Academy. We were somewhere in that 1,501 to 1,600. So we got what was known as a Falcon Scholarship. So to show that their selection was pretty dialed in, both David and I, my twin brother, just landed in that small band of 99 people that were in there, and then went down to New Mexico for a year, and then we had to go through the process again, but we got selected to go in, entered in 88, and graduated the Academy in 92.
And completed that course, or of course you can talk more about going down there if there's more you want to talk about.
Yeah, it was a year of prep to go down there, and the focus was to basically get a little bit better and then reapply again. And so we reapplied, and then both got into the next year. We went in there, and then standard 4-year. Doesn't matter how you show up to the Academy, you're going to do the 47-month program there. Regardless, I had friends that had 2 or 3 years prior to college. Didn't matter. You're kind of a clean slate when you get there, and then you're going to go through 47 months no matter what. So we did that. I graduated there. I got a degree in behavioral sciences, focusing on human behavior and leadership. And so my career field out of there was, I was slotted to be a pilot. I chose not to be a pilot because I didn't want to. So to the consternation of many senior officers there, wondering, many conversation of what's wrong with you, Lindsay? Why don't you want to be a pilot? To me, for whatever reason, it just wasn't my jam. Wasn't something I wanted to do. I learned early on, I really liked thinking about and understanding how people work. So I went into a career field called behavioral science, which doesn't exist anymore. And then I spent the majority of my whole career in that field. I started out, went down to San Antonio for about 8 years. I worked in promotion testing and job analysis. Did some work at basic military training. The Air Force Basic Military Training is down there. I did some research work at Armstrong Lab, and then did some work at recruiting service. So a lot of the entry level points of what's going on there. Station at Randolph Air Force Base, Brooks, Lackland, throughout my time down there. About my first 8 years of service were there. Then I went to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, worked in the research lab, doing human factors and performance work there. Did a little bit of work in the Homeland Defense Office, looking at technologies and how that works. At that point, I had an opportunity to get my master's degree paid for by the Air Force. So I went and got my master's down at the University of Texas at San Antonio. got my master's in experimental psychology. After that, got an opportunity to go be an instructor at the Air Force Academy for a couple of years. I guess I did okay. I got selected for a PhD program. So I went to Penn State for 3 years to get my PhD in industrial organizational psychology with a focus on leadership. And then again, I guess I did good enough. I went back to the academy and spent nearly the last 10 years of my career on faculty at the Air Force Academy, and retired out of there. During that time, I had a chance to deploy to Kabul for the ISAF Joint Command there for about 8 months in 2010, back half of 2010, early 2011, kind of during the surge, the end of the surge during that time. And then I ended up retiring in 2014 from the Air Force.
Okay.
So a
Do
lot
you
of
want to
time.
touch on your deployment anymore? Yeah. Do you want to touch on your deployment anymore as well?
Yeah. So kind of a funny thing about the deployment. I actually ended up going on deployment by mistake, which is kind of one of those things you never want to kind of figure out. So this is what happens when Army tries to talk to Air Force. I don't know if it's a message problem or a sender or a receiver problem, but the Army. But the Army had
an Army problem.
Yeah. Well, I'm an Air Force guy, so it's got to be. It can't be an encoding problem. It's got to be a sender problem, right? So, my boss comes to me. It's the middle of June, and tells me, "Hey, got a great opportunity." Which no conversation in the military ever starts and ends in a good way. That starts that way. But basically, 2-week notice, got to go to Kabul, Afghanistan. So one day I'm sitting at the Air Force Academy, and 2 weeks later, I'm en route to Kabul. So it's an Army tasking filled by an Air Force person for whatever reason. So I show up, report in. They couldn't tell me where I was going, couldn't tell me what I was doing, just that I needed to get to Kabul Airport, and that's where I was going to be stationed because at that point, the Academy didn't have a skiff, and so I couldn't get into the secret or top secret information that was needed to tell me what my deployment was. So I'm like, and everybody along the way was like, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. So yeah. I get there, I finally found out, I'm sitting at Manus waiting for my rotation into theater, and I finally find out that, hey, some guy's going to be at the airport waiting for you. And I'm like, okay, at least I know I'll get a warm handoff. So I show up there and sit down. Sergeant Major takes me over to meet the colonel that I'm supposed to work for. And we find out very quickly that I do not have the qualifications to fill the position that I was deployed for. So they were needing a CNO planner, computer network operations planner, to sit in a skiff that had all kinds of secret clearances and top secret and all that kind of stuff. And I'm a behavioral scientist, right? Instructor out of the academy. And what ended up happening was, for some reason, a CNO planner throughout the translation process got translated to behavioral santist. So I'm sitting, after being a 2-week notice, beating up my family, to get out of there as quickly as possible, saying, okay, it'll be okay. I'm sitting there, and we realize that I can't do what I was deployed to do. So it's like, well, that's pretty awesome, right? And I'm thinking, I'm an 05 at that time. I'm thinking, this kind of stuff doesn't happen. Let's figure it out. There was nothing to figure out. So I became that colonel's deputy for the next 8 months, and figured something out. Worked as a communication director for the folks that were doing PSYOPs, public affairs, that kind of stuff there, and then came back. And so
wow,
that's kind of it was fun. It was good. I got no complaints there. Got an opportunity to get some operational lens on me as a support kind of officer in the Air Force. So it was great experience, great people that was there. but a less than ideal scenario on how you can end up, 14 days later, somewhere halfway around the world, 11 and a half hours, a different time zone, for something that you can't be hired to do. So anyway, but no ill will or anything like that. It was an
Yeah,
amazing
yeah,
experience. It's one of those things that I'm glad I got that opportunity to have that context. And again, I think it's like life, right? There's a couple ways you can take that when you're sitting there. You kind of go through the stages of grief and denial, right? It's like, holy crap, how did this happen to me? What is going on? And, I decided, I talked to my wife, and it's like, we're already here. We're already separated. So I'm just going to lean into it, get everything I can out of it, learn as much as I can,
hmm
and then take it back. So, um,
yeah. I
so
mean,
that's here.
it sounds like it was a great opportunity, and then yeah, I'm with you. You just kind of leaning into it and say, hey, I got this opportunity. We're already set up. Family's already moved and into their transition, what they're going to do, and so just going with it. But yeah, people could choose to be a victim, or they can choose to not be a victim,
Yep.
and that's an important lesson for anyone to learn, whether it's firsthand or secondhand. In
Yeah.
your case, firsthand. So, yeah, I actually did not know that. That's we never
Yeah.
had the conversation about that.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, I think it's a mindset thing. It's like anything. And I think it relates, back to the whole idea of transition, right? It's not good or bad, it's neutral. It's like, what are we going to do with it, right? It's something that we got to do. In most cases, the transition opportunity is something we decide for ourselves. Sometimes we're forced to go through that, but for a majority of folks, they just decide I want to do something else. And so we just own it. Let's embrace it. Let's get everything out of it. And it's a mindset thing in what we're going to do. It's not, again, it's not, it doesn't have to be negative. Even if the genesis of it is someone telling us we need to find a different job. Okay, that happens outside the military too. I got a lot of friends who are civilians, and they've had similar stories of, hey, you just don't need to come to work tomorrow. Oh, all right, okay, well let's figure this out. So because people get laid off, in the civilian workplace. We're finding that out today in government. A lot of folks are getting laid out off and different opportunities. So to me, it's a mindset thing. How are we going to manage it? How are we going to deal with it? And just get after it.
Yeah. So what were I mean, I'm sure that was one of them. What were some like maybe a couple of your biggest challenges, and then what you did to get through them?
While I was in the service,
Yeah.
yeah, I think for me there was always um, this balance of um, you know, always feeling like I needed to sacrifice and do the best for the company, and always do the right thing, and always, be selfless, and work on weekends, do all these kind of crazy things that, I was fine doing that. I think we're all fine doing that from time to time. But what I learned early on was it's fine to do that, but also take advantage of the opportunities that are in front of you. Like I said, when I was talking about my story, there was the idea that I got a chance to go to school a lot of times. So I spent, from the day I started my journey at New Mexico Military Institute all the way until I retired at that 22-year point is about a 27-year span. And I spent 9.5 years of that in school.
Okay.
uh, Learning and taking advantage of the opportunities, and just investing in myself a little bit. It feels a little bit selfish sometimes. It's like that when we think about investing in ourselves because we're in a service component, a service capacity. But what I learned was, and I had a mentor tell me that early on, if you invest in education, you invest in yourself, you're investing in your career, and you show up better every
Yeah.
day as a result of it. And so I just always leaned into those opportunities. So what I learned, to answer your question in a long way, is just to take advantage of the opportunities that are in front of you, because sometimes they're cloaked in a deployment, sometimes they're cloaked in a new job, sometimes they're cloaked in a PCS or having to move that way. And I never walked away from an assignment um, not happy that I had gone through it. Maybe not everything that happened during that assignment, but that I
Yeah.
grew somehow as a result of what it was. I would have rather, in hindsight, family wise, probably rather not have that conversation with my boss in 2010 when he told me about that opportunity. but we just leaned into it. And now we look back on that going, we grew a lot as a couple. We grew a lot as a family, having been through that. And I feel honored to have had that opportunity to deploy, because had I rolled 22 years, 7 months and 4 days, and I didn't deploy or get a sense of what that was, I think I would have felt a little incomplete, to be honest, of retired after serving for that long and not had that opportunity to have a little bit of skin in the game,
Yeah.
and feel what that was like for folks like yourself and that do that kind of stuff routinely. I just didn't. And as a psychology guy, I'm thinking, oh, I get it. I can understand what that's like if I didn't go through it. Now, for me, it wasn't. I needed to go through that, so that I
That's
could
how I
really
felt.
just have
Yeah.
that understanding of what it was. So
Yeah.
I think that's part of it, is just embracing the good and the bad, the highs and the lows, and just walking away from that going, I'm going to take something out of this, that's going to help me get after it better next time.
Yeah. No, totally. I completely get it. And of course, yeah, everyone has a plan how they want to do it. And didn't entirely go that way because I wanted to deploy and I wanted to do it before I had a family, and that's not how that went down. But I wouldn't trade the deployment for anything. It was important to me, especially in a role, where you look for IDs. It's like there's really only one place you do that, and that's on deployment when you
Yep.
do it for real.
Yep.
So I completely agree and understand with just not everybody does, but the people that feel the need to do that aspect of it. I'm totally with you on that.
Yeah.
Um,
And it wasn't all butterflies and rainbows either, right? It's not like
oh yeah,
that 22 years was great. I mean, there were some times when I was given an opportunity that I didn't want. And like we all do. But you got to do it. So how am I going to do it? Am I going to be grumpy and let that affect how I show up at home, because I'm not happy with where that job is? Or do we just sit there and model that to those around us that, yeah, it's not ideal, but we're gonna figure it out. We're gonna get after it the best we can, and just try day by day. And some days it is that, right? You guys know,
yeah,
days it is day by day, right? And you just one foot in front of the other, and that's okay. And other days it feels like you're running, and it's all good. But in balance, long as you're trending, in a good way, sometimes there's a step back, but there's a couple forward too. So
yeah.
it's just a balance.
Well, and there's that line graph of ups and downs, in your career and experiences. But in the end, when you zoom out, the general direction should be up, and two, bringing family into it, where you mentioned that, I know that Nicole is supportive of it. My wife, for listeners, um, she's supportive of me when she knows I'm enjoying something or liking something.
Yeah.
If I grumbled about putting in time outside of work, so like, you know, time she and I could spend together to this, or, if I didn't want to go on the deployment, was mad I was going, it would be so much harder for her to kind of pick up the slack or support me in whichever way that needs, if I don't like it. Whereas if I'm enjoying it or it's something that's making me feel fulfilled, it's much easier. And every relationship's different, but I'm assuming it's a fair amount of relationships that are that way. And so, yeah, just accepting the opportunity and moving forward with it, and not allowing it to, where you say, make you grumpy when you come home. Because then your family's like, well, why are we supporting him? He's kind of a dick now for
Yeah, it's
doing
true,
this.
right? I mean, for the most part, we all raise our paw to do this, right? We do
Yeah,
volunteer to do this, and we've been volunteer to continue to do that. And so, again, it wasn't that every day was great. I came home singing songs every day because I was happy, but I got to try to figure out how do you pull some of that positive momentum out. Kids don't deserve that when I come home. They don't know. They don't know
yeah,
if I got beat up, verbally or whatever, that day, and they don't care. They just
no,
care that when I'm home for those 3 hours before they go to bed, that what kind of dad am I going to show up as? Am I going to be the
yeah,
grumpy guy? And again, I wasn't perfect. I wasn't batting 1,000, but I hope in on average I was maybe a 500 hitter, maybe 600 in my mind. I like to think I'm an 800 hitter, but probably not.
What's
But
Karina say?
yeah, well, it depends on
Yeah,
the it depends on the day and how you frame
yeah,
the question.
yeah,
Today, pretty good. A lot of things look better in hindsight. So,
yeah,
but I mean that's just life, right? As we got to figure out how we're gonna keep getting a little bit better every day. That's
yeah,
why I'm so big on education and training and programs, those are investments that we put on ourselves that no one else can ever take away. Now, we may not use all of them, but that's something that we get to do for us that really does help us across
Yeah.
the enterprise of our lives, right? In terms of what we do. My wife and I went away to Kansas City for the weekend because we needed a weekend away. That was just us and just focused on us. And so that was an investment in that. That wasn't work. That was enjoyable to do that. Sometimes the conversations get deep and we get to have those conversations. But that was an investment in us. And, when I came back, I felt better at work. I felt better around the kids. I felt better just in general because I needed that investment. And so when people feel that investment, they need to take, they're feeling that because there's something there that's lacking or that they need to do that. And it's not selfish to take that pause. It's not selfish to do that investment and say, you know what, I need a minute. I need a minute for me to be able to do that so I can show up for them the way they need me to show up, not how I'm feeling right now.
Yeah. Getting into your transition.
Yeah.
How did your transition go? How did you work that? Did you know at the time it was something you would want to do while you were still in, not quite out, or how did that all look?
Yeah. So like many, probably bumpy. I'm in general, I would say probably risk averse when it comes to my family. When it comes to me, I'm up for a lot of things, a lot of opportunities. So I did it exactly backwards. So when I decided that it was time to maybe look for something else, I needed a new opportunity. I needed a challenge. Like I said, I was at the academy for about a decade. It was great work, doing good stuff, but that's a long time at one place. And so it was like, yeah, what are we going to do now? And so I actually went out on the job hunt and I found a job, applied for a job, got hired for a job, and then I dropped my paperwork because I wanted to have that security for my family. I felt they moved around with me for that many years doing all of that. The least I could do was give them the security they needed so they didn't have to worry about things and what that was. So spent probably about 6 months applying for jobs that I wanted. And I did that. And then, so for me, going through the transition assistance program, the TAP program, it was awesome because it was like, I found out what's the minimum amount that I can drop my paperwork and get out. And they told me it was 120 days. Boom, dropped my paperwork as soon as I got my job offer. And then 120 days, I was out. But what amazed me, a roundabout way to answer your question was, I was sitting, the academy tends to be a little bit more of a rank heavy organization just because.
I can see that.
I was sitting in my TAP class. There were 6 of us, 605 sitting in the TAP class. And I'm just sitting there going, can we get on with this? Because I already knew what I was doing. I was just, you got to go through TAP.
Yeah.
The other 5 of those 05s had no clue what was about to hit them. They were all like, yeah, it was kind of time to get out, or yeah, I want to do something different. But none of them had a clue on what they were going to be doing, what their job opportunities were. They hadn't even started thinking about what that job might be. And I'm like, I don't understand what you guys are about. Because the way I always learned is you can't control everything, but you know what you can control? Some stuff. So get after the stuff that you can control. And if you can, do it. And then look, transition is bumpy, right? That whole idea of transition is something that means to kind of, it's like a passage, right? If you look at the Latin root of like transition, it's kind of, it has to do with like a journey or going across or a passage. So it's gonna suck a little bit because it's gonna be a bit bumpy. So why wouldn't you control? If all I can control is 5%, you know what I'm gonna do? I am gonna militantly control that 5% because that's what I can. I'm not gonna leave that 5% to chance when I know 95% I have no control over. So what I figured was I could control, turns out, about 90% of it. So to me, transition was moving, packing stuff up, and it was like no stress because I knew when my job started, I was on terminal leave and I had already started my job. My onboarding and all that was done by the time my time was up. in December of 2014. I was set, man. I think I almost had my first eval by the time that was done because I could control that. And so for me, guys that like to control dynamics, I don't have to control everything, but I can guarantee you I will control every aspect of that I can because my
Yeah.
family needs that. I took control away from them saying, you're going to follow me for 22 years, 7 months, 4 days. And now this was a gift I could give back to them in that transition was some sort of semblance of security, peace, mindset, control of what we were doing.
Yeah. Awesome. That's a really great outlook to have. Definitely one I hope listeners can take with them and apply. Far as soft skills, right? So the
Yeah.
transition. What are some soft skills that you developed thanks to the military? I mean, some people, like myself included, you're probably this way.
Yeah.
I had organization down. Like that wasn't something the military helped me grow. But there's definitely other things. Like I got really good at time management and planning and everything. So, what were some of those skills that you got to take with you when you left the military?
Yeah. And I mean, I think I think it's easy to sit here and kind of look back and go, hey, here's some of the grand lessons I learned. But each of these lessons it's hard earned, right? It's learned through trial and error. And I had my share of failure too and missed opportunities and not showing up every day that the way maybe that I had wanted to, but I still tried to show up, every day, at least a little bit better than I did before. But certain things that are maybe a little bit non-traditional. I think I learned early on because I had some phenomenal NCOs and senior NCOs that worked for me. I learned early on that as a leader, it's not about you. It's about what you help other people do. And it
Yeah,
took me a little while to figure that out. That I didn't have to be that guy. I didn't have to have the lens on me. So, and you all know you've had leaders as well. Some guys and gals just don't figure that out, right? It's all about them and what the spotlight is. But what I found for me was the more I amplified the people that worked for me, the better they did and the better I felt. And I think ultimately the better we did as an organization. So, it's just like that idea of as a leader, and it doesn't matter if you're the leader of a family or a leader of a team, a leader of a community group. If you can help other people succeed, any success that you would ever have is just a byproduct of that investment as others. Another one is sometimes I have a tendency, because I know this about myself, that I always want to be right and I want to be correct about things. And so that comes across in my conversations sometimes about, trying to be right or trying to get my point across. And I think some point, and it was probably about halfway through my career, that I realized that the person sitting across from me is probably equally as passionate about their idea as I am about mine. And if I try to fight that, I deny the opportunity to kind of learn and grow from that opportunity. Now, there are certain things that we can enter a debate on. You will not change my mind on. They're already fixed in my core and my identity and what's important to me. But there's a lot of things that I'd love to have a conversation on. And I think I've learned to enjoy the conversation more than a competition of that. And so I think I've learned to at least hopefully be a little bit better listener than I was before. Try to listen first about that, and then listening without ego. If sometimes someone comes to me and tells me something I don't want to hear, instead of automatically reacting and fighting that, just maybe being a little bit more grateful about the willingness of that person took the risk to come to tell me what it was. Because, honestly, 9 times out of 10, they were right. I was probably doing something maybe I wasn't aware of. And so, again, my wife is my great honest broker in that, because I know how I want to show up, but I don't always know how I show up. And she
yeah,
is a great equalizer for me to go, do you really mean to say that? Or do you have any idea kind of how that came across? I'm like, yeah, it was great. And she's like, maybe not. But being open to that feedback there too. And then the other idea that, people can have an idea that's different different than me, and that doesn't make them wrong. It just makes them have a different opinion sometimes of what that is, and we can agree to disagree on that. So, I mean, those are like bigger picture mindset things. But, and again, yeah, things like leadership and problem solving and decision making and all that. Yeah, of course, I think the military gets you really good at that and how we do that. But as I've been retired now for 10 years, as I look back on it, I think I look back on it differently than I did when I was in it, because age and time give you a great perspective that you didn't
Yeah.
always have. But those soft skills, and as I get into positions where I'm at now and having to hire people or sometimes let people go, those soft skills, that's what it's really all about. I can train skill, I can't train mindset. I can
Yeah.
train a technical ability, I can't train character. I mean, you can develop character, but over time. But so when I'm putting a team together, I'm looking for good teammates. I'm looking for people that are going to add value to the culture. I'm looking for people that I can invest in and they'll invest back, and that kind of thing, not just the tactical skills. And I think that's what the military sends out, right? That's why military tend to promote former military tend to promote at higher rates than traditional civilians and organizations, because they have those skill sets that are there. And if they can take a
Yeah.
pause and figure it out, it really does work.
Yeah. That's something we hit on, and why we asked that question is because there's people that say, well, I was a plumber in the Army, and so when I transitioned out and became a plumber, I got my skills from the Army. And then in contrast, you'll somebody that's say maybe infantry, and say, well, once I become a cop, there's not really anything I can do, so I got to figure out this whole new thing. And that's where I kind of have an argument of, okay, well, fundamentally from a job perspective, yeah, if you don't want to be a cop, maybe you're a little less qualified to go be a CPA, but there's definitely things they learned, whether they realize it or not, from the military that is setting them up to be a CPA or whatever it is they want to do.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a point we can't overdrive home. As far as
That's
leadership, you mentioned some leadership.
yeah.
What is what has kind of become your developed idea of a good leader?
Ooh, that's a great question. I should have anticipated that one. Um,
It's kind of my fault. It's not in the notes because it was like 2 interviews ago. I thought of that question and wanted to continue to do it, but I need to put it in that little template so that people can be ready for that one.
no, I'm glad I wasn't, because I probably would have tried to kind of detail, what that is, um, instead of more maybe of a organic reaction to that. I think if we think about what good leadership is, I think it goes back to, um, uh, the foundation of a leader to me, um, and we can certainly debate this if you want, is character. It's what do you stand for, and it's got to be something bigger than yourself. And
Yeah.
so for some people, that's a faith component that they lean on and say that's my foundation, and that is phenomenal. For some people, it's a service component, the ability and the desire to want to serve others. That's phenomenal. What I found across my study of leaders over the last couple decades is every single one of them had a purpose that was bigger than themselves, that they were getting after, and that's why they were really good at what they did. Now you will find people who are just maestros at what they do, and they are the best at their job. They are the best at their skill set. But when we talk about leaders, we've gotta have that step back, and it's got to be more than just us. It's got to be ego free. It can't be just about what I'm doing and what I bring to the table. It's about how I support my team. So I look at it, things like servant leader, right? There's a servant component there that I think is super important. I think empathy is a big one. That is not, I would not count that as one of my strengths, but it is something that I continually work on.
Mhm.
Whereas my wife is a great balance for me because she is incredibly empathetic, and I am at in awe of her and her ability to really understand and empathize with people, because that ain't my natural. I'm a process procedure kind of guy, right? It's like
Yeah.
let's just get after it. But so things like that. So I think it gets back to that idea of um, uh, leading from who you are. Who you are is how you lead, and you got to understand who you are so that you can show up every day to amplify the goodness that's going on around you as a leader. And again, I think there's a service component. I think there's a humility component. I think there's an empathy component, and I think there's a continual leaders that I have that I like to follow. The leader I have at my current company, it is that relentless pursuit of just improvement and development to do that. It's why we have these trite sayings that leaders are readers, right? The best leaders do read because they're always wanting to expand. They're always wanting to do that. If you ever run into a leader that thinks they've arrived, it's probably time to PCS or get out of there, because they will infect the entire organization. So that idea of a learning mindset, growth mindset, as you'll hear it in the literature sometimes, is there. So I don't think I painted a really nice, clear picture, but those are the components that I think really
It's a
make
formula.
up of who it is. If you don't have something that you're willing to stand on that's freaking rock solid, when the waves happen, the transition happens, when bad stuff happens, because it happens to all of us, you're going to be shook and you're not going to know where to go. But if I've got that foundation, then at least I know where the bottom is, and then I can build it back up again. It may get knocked down, but I can always know that I'm not in it alone. I'm not in it for myself, and that I'm trying to build it back better than it was when I got there in the first place. So
Yeah.
that a lot of that's aspirational, but that's okay. That's okay. That's what we should be about. Being better. If we're a leader, that's a tall order, and something that should be on top of mind all the time.
Yeah. Far as this is one of my favorites that we ask, it was on the notes, so you've seen this one. Is if you were to go back in time and address yourself day one of getting in and starting everything, so probably even at the academy, then what would the advice to yourself be?
Yeah, I love that question, and it caused me probably to think more than any other question on there in terms of what it was. I if I went back to myself as a young person at the academy, I probably wouldn't listen to me. So to be real honest, because I would probably have thought, I got this. I'm doing pretty good. But assuming I could slap myself metaphorically or maybe even physically about that, I think it comes down to a couple of things. I think it would be um, listen more, talk less. Because I think a lot of times when people talk, they're trying to show everybody how much they know, and missing that opportunity instead of trying to listen to what is being said by somebody, right? It's like, hey, even as a young leader to a senior leader, you're like, you go in and you report out, you're just trying to show everything you know instead of just understanding it's really a learning opportunity. So that would be one. Another one is I would seek mentors earlier in my career. I think the first thing is that we tend to think is, oh, I'm going to seek a mentor of somebody who is where I want to be. Right? That's the easy one, man. I want to be a commander someday, or I want to be whatever that is someday. And I think that's like, to me, that's like level one, right? It's like, okay, yeah, get a mentor. They're going to tell you how they got to where they're at. Maybe there's some goodness there. But I always also believe you also need to seek mentors that are doing what you want to do. So it's not just the how of it. Or, it's like, how do I get to where you're at? It's the substantive part of it. So for me, it was like I started to pay attention to what great leaders did, not where they were at. It's how do they treat people, right? It's that I had this one general officer when I was in recruiting command, and it made me, he frustrated me because he just knew everybody's name. It didn't matter who you were in the organization. he always seemed to know everybody's name. And I just was like, that to me is amazing. And I've always tried to do that because I always give myself a pass and go, I'm just bad with names. I'm good with faces. I'm bad with names. And I use that as a crutch and excuse for a long time, instead of understanding that what are these, not just about how do I get to that spot, but how do I earn that spot, right? So seeking mentors that were doing stuff that was
Yeah.
I wanted to be better at. And so that to me is like that level 2 mentor, right? How do I really be that person that's worthy? Because I always went, as I would sometimes get in my own head and go to bed at night going, man, do I, did I earn the rank that I wore today? And some days I'd be like, yeah, I felt pretty good about that. But some days it was like, I didn't, I failed. I did not live up to, I think, the expectation that was put in me by the rank that I wore on that given day. So I think that's another one. And then the last one is take advantage of every single training and education opportunity that you have available to you. I put it this way: the military will always get theirs, right? They will
Yeah.
always, basis of the contracts we sign, the money we get, and the service that we are there. It is okay to get something for yourself in terms of education and training. If there is a benefit out there, do it. It boggles my freaking mind that there is like 70% of veterans out there, or 60 to 70, depending on what data you use, never use their GI benefit. It is
Mhm.
it's unfathomable to me. You earn that. That is yours 100%. Go take a painting class. Go take a basket weaving class. Go take a class on history and really learn history. Not what they taught you in grade school, but the way you want to learn it. Take that and do it, be advanced, but do that when you're in the service as well. Man, go learn how to be if you want to go be an executive coach, go freaking be an executive coach. If you want to learn how to do something different, do that. If you can career broaden because you want to go be a recruiter or a TI or whatever, then do that. That's your opportunity. You earned it. You already earned it. So invest in yourself and pay yourself back a little bit, because the military is always going to get theirs. And it's not
Yeah.
selfish. It's not selfish at all. It is learning that it's okay to invest in yourself so you can show up better tomorrow. So those
Yeah,
are
I
kind of,
definitely, I definitely looked at it in a very similar light, and wording it the way the military would get theirs is a perfect way to articulate, because yeah, a lot of my advice to people would be, and has been, like when we Nick and I interviewed each other, and my advice was take advantage of the opportunities, because the military is benefiting from you doing it. So it's not selfish for that reason. And then if you can skim off the top and get something back for yourself, even if you just enjoy it, like you were saying, if you just want to learn how to paint, then you can go enjoy it. Or if you want to advance your career, using any of those opportunities. And there's a number of Army schools that the knowledge can be applied outside of the military. For MRT, for the Army, is a good one. Master Resiliency Training.
100%.
I kind of balked at that early on, but now that's one I want to go do, because I know it'll do nothing but help me outside of the military. And that's totally one I'm with you on, because two, and especially do it sooner when you maybe don't have kids or even a wife, and so going away to do those things takes less. Whereas now I would use it as an AT or something if I did it, but yeah, just jumping on those opportunities was a big
And
one for me too.
there's a million of them. I had
Yeah,
no idea that the Air Force would pay me my full salary and benefits and let me sit in classrooms at Penn State University for 3 years. And all I had to do was pass. All I had to do was complete the requirements. I literally spent almost 5.5 years on active duty, sitting in classrooms at the University of Texas, because and Penn State University, I had zero debt. Everything was covered. They paid my moves, all of that kind of stuff, because I said, hey, yeah, I want to take advantage of this opportunity that's there. And it's awesome. And guess what? It was a phenomenal opportunity. I picked up my kids from school. I went to class. It was amazing. That was my job, was to be a student. Are you kidding me? There's a bazillion, like your master resilience trainer. Yes, that will help you after your service. It's going to help you in the service too.
Oh yeah, I guess
You
yeah.
want to go,
I should have mentioned that.
yeah, right. Go use the Army certificate program and go get a PMP. Become a project management professional. Put those numbers after those letters after your name, and just be better at understanding projects and planning and all that kind of stuff. It
Yeah,
is okay. Programs exist for people to use them, and you know what happens if people don't use them? They take them away,
yeah,
right? My gosh, right? Do we want them to take away the GI Bill? I don't. I promise you, by the time all is said and done, I will have $0 and 0 cents in my GI Bill account because it's you earn that. It's
yeah.
not a privilege. You earned it because of the sacrifice and the time that you spent away from your family, away from your friends, away from home, away from your dog, whatever that is. You did that. You earned it. Use it. If you let it go, then you just are. You're just losing out. The other one, VA home loan. Man, if you're not tapping that, holy smokes, you're missing that opportunity. At least consider it. What is there in that opportunity? I've used that thing like a half a dozen times, man. And guess
Well,
what?
so the perfect transition to the final question
Yeah,
is, VA or benefits in general. Which ones have you used? And in any and all advice that you would put with that.
yeah. So I think we've already kind of tapped GI Bill. That is a no-brainer. If you're not using that, you are missing out on an opportunity to just enjoy learning for learning's sake. I'm not talking like you have to take it and you don't have to be in a degree program to do it. You can use your GI Bill to do stuff. Come down to UHP and be a CPT. Go somewhere, be a PMP. Go and be a master resilience trainer. Go be an executive coach. Whatever that is, those are there. You've earned it. The VA home loan, 100%, right? That is a phenomenal opportunity to support your family, get them set up, build some equity and some growth, even if you're moving around. I bought probably 4 or 5 different houses and we were PCSing around. And, it's a great opportunity to buy into a home that I may not have had to do that. And then the other one is, for me, especially on the retire side, is medical. That ability of TRICARE, right? So it's not free medical for life. I think I pay $50 a month as an old retiree for TRICARE Prime for my wife and I. And you know what? It's awesome. Yeah, people will say, well, they didn't do this, they didn't do that. Man, I got nothing but goodness, man. Because at $50 a month, I don't have to worry about healthcare and what's going on with that. Maybe I got to wait an extra week for an appointment. Fine.
Yeah,
It's life or death. I'll go to the ER. It's all good. So those benefits, you have earned those. Every single military member has earned those. And again, I always advocate to people, use them or they'll take them away. If they see that over half of people never touch their GI benefit, if I were a bean counter and I were looking for a way to make a move, that looks easy. Army credentialing program just went down from $4,000 a month or $4,000 a year to $2,000 a year because they found out that's about what people were spending. Man, we missed an opportunity. It's like,
ooh, yeah,
come on, man. That kind of stuff that's out there, and just be smart and share. And as veterans and as guardsmen, reservists, active duty, share the love, man. Share the knowledge. If you know of a cool program, freaking, we ought to be tweeting and sending that stuff out to everybody because I mean we've earned it. You're not taking. It's not a welfare. Or it's not a handout. It's not that you freaking earned that. So take advantage of it.
yeah.
Sorry,
Well, that's
getting fired
awesome.
up there a little bit. That
Oh,
because
that
I hate to see people not taking advantage of something. It's like someone giving you a check and going, "No, I got one last month. I'm good." Come on, man, it's yours.
Yeah,
It's yours to
yeah.
spend.
and that's what's crazy is like we're starting to see, I think Sam, you'd probably agree, like when we ask these questions, we're starting to see a trend that like that's what a lot of people are saying is like use these benefits because you're not taking it away from somebody else. Like
No,
and and then also with you saying like to listen more and talk less, we've heard that before too. Like so
I would say that was we
everybody
heard
listen
that
up.
recently.
yeah,
Yeah,
trust me. I'm sitting here at 55 years. I've learned a little bit, and I try to share that as much as I
Right.
can. But I also try to learn as well. If there's hey, I'll tell you, if there's a benefit I'm missing out on, and I find out about it, boom, I'm on it.
well,
Right?
you kind of inspired me. I'll talk to Nick after this, but we may try to get a page going of just a list of places you can go that the GI Bill works with. Obviously, you guys will be on there. Um, yeah, so that way people can know, they can listen to this and then go to our website and see, oh, these people teach painting, these people teach, basketball. I've always been interested in learning how to fly. And now that you got me thinking, I'm like, a lot of people hear GI Bill, and I'm totally guilty of this. And I think like, classroom, or, I'm like, I'm not a formal learner kind of guy. So it's, I have a college degree. I don't, so I don't need another one. I'm not interested in a PhD or really an MBA at this point, but now, yeah, it gets me thinking there's probably other programs. Maybe I can go learn how to fly a helicopter and have the GI Bill pay for it. That'd be awesome. So.
Absolutely. I mean, from gunsmith to personal training to flying to a lot of different things. And I joke about take a painting class, but man, if that's what you enjoy,
yeah,
you do that. You earned it. If you want to
my
learn,
grandfather was a phenomenal painter, and he didn't even start until he was in his 50s.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right. Even us old guys, me old guy can learn that as well. If I can tell you, if I qualify for that extra 12 months of GI Bill, guess what I'm doing? I'm going back to school. So somebody in my family is, because we're gonna use that to just grow and develop and be just a better human, man. I want to learn. Yeah. Right? So yeah, I think for those that do that, if you could provide resources for folks to spend it, I don't care where you spend it. Invest in yourself. Invest in your family. Let your spouse go study something that because the family can use it, or you do it. It doesn't matter. I hate to see it go to waste.
Yeah. Well, Doug, this has been awesome. Tons of good information. I'm really glad we had you on, and I look forward to listeners getting to hear this episode and hearing all that you have to say, because definitely solid advice and solid lessons learned for sure.
Appreciate it. Thanks for the opportunity. Thanks, guys, for doing that. I've been affiliated with podcasts before, and I know it's a ton of work. It's way more work than I think a lot of times people realize. And together and thinking about it and the investment and setting it up. So thank you for doing that for all veterans and all military members, because it's needed, it's useful, and it's appreciated. So thanks.
We thank you for listening, and we hope you got something helpful out of this.
Right now, the best way to support us is to simply spread the word. If you know a fellow veteran who could use some resources to elevate their life, send them our way.
Until next time, remember to check your 0s, 5s, 10s, and 25s.